Market Vitals, the stream, the podcast, HFR from the floor. Matt Davio, mistrade. Good morning, Matt, or afternoon, or I don't know what the fuck it is anymore. What is it?
It's morning, Bob.
Still morning. Still morning where we are. It's already noon in Booger Glob, Yugoslavia, though. Matt, that's from a National Lampoon. Remember when comedy was meant to be in your face, somewhat offensive?
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore.
No.
You know, no jokes are allowed. Matt, I got this one, though. You're going to love this.
You're canceled.
Check this out. From our favorite Twitter source, Super 70
Brady.
Sports. Tom Brady is older now than Grady was during the first 4 seasons of Sanford and Son. Oh my God.
Hey, Lamont.
This is a big one.
It's the big one, Elizabeth. It's the big one.
I just thought that was hilarious. Grady, he didn't age gracefully, apparently, or they just cast him as a super. I remember watching it when you were a kid, right? You thought Grady was ancient. You thought he was in his 90s.
Yeah.
In the show.
Wasn't he?
No, he was apparently he was 42 when they started.
All right.
I don't get it.
Oh, poor Grady.
Man, and we love satire, sarcasm, and nobody's
By the
doing
way,
better.
if you have not seen Sanford and Son, I suggest with the quiet market like we have today, go and watch some Sanford and Son because it's good stuff. Classic.
Classic.
I mean, would Fred Sanford be canceled today?
How could he be? I don't know. Anything's possible.
Archie Bunker would be, but they were the same.
Well, Archie Bunker, they put him in jail now. He'd be jailed. Matt, the Babylon Beat delivers again. Southwest Airlines.
Again, the irony because of Rob Reiner is such a libtard. Like it's funny as shit to think about. Like
I know that he spawned from that show.
Yeah.
Shame on him for being so thoughtless as a young man. Matt, the Babylon Bee. Southwest Airlines offering free flights to all passengers who are vaccinated and can fly a plane because they don't have any pilots. And Matt, I don't know if you know, but breaking, Joe Biden he's gonna talk about it. He's just getting off Air Force One now. It's a puppet show, folks. It's a freaking puppet show. Oh, Matt, we got some great base. I turned the football game off last night because it seemed like such a blowout.
I was making dinner off and on, and then I turned it off because they were up what 16, 17, 20. The old Baltimore Colts were, and so I turned that off. And then the new Baltimore Ravens, apparently Lamar had the best game of his life, 440 yards passing, and I think 400 of them were in the fourth quarter.
Unbelievable. I didn't see a freaking play. Anyway, we got White Sox coming on here shortly. They need to win again or be eliminated. The Dodgers are on this afternoon. They need to win again or win or be eliminated.
I mean, you can't ask any more of your starting pitcher than both Max Scherzer and Woods, who was a former Dodger last night for pitching for the Giants, nipped him in the butt.
And more importantly, Matt, the menu.
And that home run by, Evan, who hasn't done anything in forever. Like he's going to be gone next year. He's been so bad. And then he hits a home run to win the game. That's the only score. It was a pitcher's duel. It was rough.
Well, tonight, let me just tell you what we got tonight, though. We got crab cakes going.
What time's what time are the Dodgers playing?
I want to say 6:07 or something our time.
Oh, it's still late though for us.
Yeah. 6:07 or 4:07. I never know what time zone things are being broadcast on.
Well, if they played at 6 last night, they're probably playing at 6 tonight.
Anyway, fresh Oregon caught crabs, the Dungeness type, made for crab cakes. We didn't do anything yesterday, Matt, because it was Canadian Thanksgiving, and in the household, I went and looked for turkeys yesterday. I couldn't find a turkey anywhere,
Really?
So we had to do. My son would say, "What's the best holiday protein, and why is it ham?" We did ham. Oh my God, was it scalloped potatoes? I don't know if you've ever learned how to do scalloped potatoes.
I've never made it, but my mom,
Oh my God,
grandmother
it's
used
so
to make them.
ridiculously good.
My mom and
Anyway,
grandma.
that was last night. Tonight's crab cakes. Man, let me share some things if I can. Because I was just involved in a heated, and it was not in good spirit, text chain amongst friends. This is the society that we've built for each other, by the way, where people are idiots and you're a fucking asshole and yada, yada, yada. Instead of having a dialogue about something, why can't I have an opinion? And if your opinion doesn't come from mainstream media, then you're a bigger fucking idiot, because the only thing other than mainstream media is conspiracy theories and lies. So you can't even bring anything other than mainstream media into the discussion, which makes it very difficult. But I wanted to point out Carol Roth's here. The New York Times now saying low dose aspirin, which has, by the way, been prescribed to prevent first heart attack, stroke, and colon cancer for a couple of decades now, right? And the New York Times today saying low dose aspirin should no longer be initially prescribed to try to prevent first heart attacks, strokes, colon cancer. U.S. panel of experts suggests. So they're pushing against the long-term narrative.
I think I saw there was a study yesterday that said aspirin is actually helping and kicking COVID's butt too. So there you go.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad a 43% reduction in ICUs and in death.
Mm-hmm.
Please, people, there's two sides of the story. And if you immediately call me a fucking idiot, because I want to say, have you been exposed to Glenn Greenwald and what he thinks about mainstream media and the suppression of facts and the constant pushing of a narrative? I mean, we have more propaganda in this country than the Russians ever could have hoped for, ever. Pravda is actually like way behind ABC, NBC, CBS, and CNN in their ability to propagandize anything. Anyway, Matt, I just wanted to. We're going to talk price discovery here in a second. Come on, stop that. Because I wanted to bring this up. We'll look at Facebook, because this one actually looks like it's genuine.
Especially since it's Zuckerberg's wife.
What's that?
I said, especially since it's Zuckerberg's wife. Oh.
Very possibly. Second Facebook whistleblower is willing to testify before Congress. She doesn't have a PR firm behind her, right, Matt?
She does not
break her story to 60 Minutes in a scripted interview, which was supposed to be, not an interview, but an interrogation. But she says potential criminal violations, Matt. Oh my goodness! What was the line? Conspiracy at Shawshank. Yeah. We got a lot of conspiracy going on here. Is this a conspiracy theory or is this fact, Matt? Let's look at the chart, because the money, follow the fucking money. And if people really bail on Facebook because this one has some teeth, it shows up in price discovery. It's my opinion.
Yeah, so Facebook's down again today, 321, and you can see this move here from the 385. So again, we're down $60 and trading 321 right here. It's got as low as the teens, got into like 316. So off the bottom barely, but has not been pretty. And now that is down, that's $60. So coming right up on 20% there. 20% of this is 76. So that gets you about 308. Not quite there.
So for those that like,
what's that?
Could you fractal out, please?
I can. And the 610 sharp move to the top and sharp move to the, to the dive. And again, this is the 20% area, right where the old high was, around 307. So I wouldn't be surprised to see us test there. And again, way back down here in the 180s is where the point of control is. So that's, a long way from where we are yet. So be careful. Be careful, even though it's oversold short term, be careful. This thing,
side, fully a right side of that.
It's the right side of the equation. And speaking of right sides, I want to talk a little bit about, since, what's going on with Southwest American, et cetera, that we talked about yesterday. Is that the reason why Avis budget is going through?
Like, honest to God, when you pull the chart up, I laughed because you're like, what happened? What could possibly drive this valuation?
Well, again, this is where fundamentals don't matter. It's just strictly if you know. I do think a lot of it has to. There's something going on. There's going to be a secondary or something announced. The way it's moving. I mean, look at this last from 125 to today, 152 almost. I mean, that's like parabolic, and you can really see it here. And again, really thin though. I mean, this is a tough one to trade. If you're on the wrong side of it, it can, as you like to say, you know, it can run you over. Now this has gone up 10x since the March lows when it was down here in the teens. So keep that in mind. This was trading down here $6-7, and here we are at 152 today. So be careful out there. I would not chase this. As a matter of fact, I'm leaning to the short side using calls, out of the money calls to sell until this thing finally decides to roll over and give you a little two-way action. But it's pure one way right now. And I don't know, Bob, maybe it is the whole airline thing, and there's already a shortage of cars. So, you know, maybe there's just figuring suckers that got to go travel to see grandma, and, you know, for American Thanksgiving and then American Christmas, which we'll see if they're not canceled. But
yeah, I mean, you know, that's a valid point on the demand side. Like, who's going to, like, if you really want to be home for Christmas, are you going to trust that flight's not going to get canceled?
Right.
You know, especially going forward here the next couple of weeks. I mean, it seems to me that there's a pretty talk about solidarity. There's a lot of solidarity amongst the airline pilots and stewardesses, and they're just going to
well,
call
the CEO of Love today came out and said, we're not firing anybody. He goes, nobody wants to do this. We're not firing anybody. So that's pretty bold. He's pretty much the first CEO of an airline company that stood his ground, because he knows that 80% of their pilots are military, as you said. It's interesting.
And the other thing too, that's playing into this now, and we've talked about this before, how the overall narratives seem to be states' rights versus federal mandates, federal government intervention. And this one, Greg Abbott now stepping up again, saying and issuing a, by the way, double vaxxed and booster jabbed, Greg Abbott. Double jabbed and boosted, saying executive order, there will be no vaccine agenda or mandate in the state. Guess what? Love is hosting, you know, corporate headquarters in Texas. So
based in Fort Worth, right? Interesting.
So
right?
yeah. And we've seen this with the border. We've seen it with mask mandates. Very out front, Greg Abbott is on this. And is it a state's rights versus federal rights? Does it need to go to court? I don't know, but for sure it's.
Well, again, nobody still has seen. There is no mandate. It doesn't exist. There's no executive order. If you can find it, please send it to us.
Please share it. Please share it with
I'm being
Miss
serious
Gray.
because I'm not the only one saying this. Many people have said, "Where does it? You know, where does it exist?" Nobody's seen it.
Where does it reside?
So
Exactly.
nobody has found it. So like, if you're forcing vaccinations, you're going to get sued because this doesn't even exist. You should make sure the law. It's not even a law. Whatever a mandate is, what is a mandate?
Believe me, in today's political
Nas and
environment,
Elton John, is Nas and Elton John a mandate? I mean, what's going on there? The Uber Eats commercial, is that a mandate?
I think it is. I think it is. A mandate is me making crab cakes for you tonight. That's a
Thank
mandate.
you. That's a mandate.
All right, listen, another one that, and please let me take the time to shout out and say thank you to all the farmers in this country, man. And you want to talk about another split between the radical left. I mean, there's so many splits, but how we farm for sure is one, especially, and I'm not, believe me, I am not advocating for industrial beef production per se. It's food production is very, very difficult to begin with. Let me just say this, man. I was raised on especially through high school, more of a hobby farm than we had to farm to make a living. But I lived on a farm long enough to know that there's always work to be done on the farm. Farming is the most challenging of professions there is, man. And so National Farmers Day, my hat goes off to farmers, ranchers, people in the cattle hog industry. it's incredibly hard work, and just another divide that will be voted on, as far as I'm concerned, in the 2020 midterm elections. And by the way, important here that Mike Pompeo jumping out front here and aligning himself with farmers. I don't know. I don't think you can underestimate that this is going to be a giant issue.
And it's interesting, right? Because he's former Secretary of State, and former Secretary of State knows that what causes wars is the lack of food. So you see and matter of fact, there's been a ton of stories coming out of North Korea yesterday that said they're not going to be able to feed their people this winter. It's already gotten severe in North Korea. China's got the floods going on again. I mean, some of the videos I saw this morning of the floods and literal people being washed away in these, towns that are just overrun by massive streams of water. Pretty wild. So that leads us into why then are some of these prices falling so much when it comes
and let's take a look at it, because not a great day if you're a farmer and you hadn't either contracted your harvest or sold futures to protect, because other than wheat, Matt.
I mean, the beans here are 11.96. It's a little delayed in the pricing, but that's a new low on this move. And I'll take you to the longer term chart where you can see this, Bob. So again, we talked about this. We talked about this kind of this 1280 level. If it can't hold, then we got levels below 11, 1170, 1050. And all the way down here back to 9. I mean, it's possible any of these, as you roll over, and this was the biggest support up here at 1418. That's long gone. This little support here at 1281, that's long gone. Now we're coming into this zone, which is like 1180. We're almost there. So, that kind of this 1150 needs to hold. That's your next level. If 1150 doesn't hold, well, here's your next level. You can just keep moving yourself down. So stepping down. This is again, the right side of a parabola. This is what happens when you blow off, and we blew off back in May, and when we hit 1670. And, now we're all the way back down to 12. So we've given up, a solid 30% here pretty much. And, got to be careful. Again, this does not look like a great long to me. And I haven't been trading the grains really probably since they blew off here. Even on the dark side, I haven't even been touching. I've been plenty of volatility in the equities and the major indices for me. Wheat, Bob, kind of the same, wheat and corn. Let's just look at those real quick just to get a comparison on the long-term charts. Corn's down another 11, not making a new low though. That was right. It would have to get below 5 there. But again, this thing ran all the way up to 7s. And so it's off again, 30%, if you, from 734 back down here to 5, that's, more than 30%. So that's not looking bullish at all.
And where's the top of that profile in the corn before you change it? The top of the top of the value range.
Oh, down here?
Yeah.
450.
And again, I like looking at that and talking about those levels, because if this was a 60-minute chart, you'd be saying to yourself, it's going there for sure.
Now, wheat has been a little stronger. Maybe it's because Kellogg's is still in business. I don't know.
Well, for sure, Matt, the corn and the bean harvests have been gargantuan.
Okay.
So that has played into it. Wheat is one of those things I've heard of. Please, again, a disclaimer, Market Vitals. We have about a 9% competency in anything that we say on this show. So please fact check anything that we say. But wheat is one of those things that is harvested pretty much every month of the year someplace on the planet. So
right.
there's always wheat being harvested, supposedly.
Well, but again, this is a bullish chart. Still staying up here, not at all-time highs, but pretty close. This is a 610 chart. If I look to a weekly, a little smooth it out a little bit, again, still very bullish, and could go much higher. So who knows? I mean, again, these things have been tricky to trade. If you chased them, you got run over. This is the weekly on the beans. Again, a lot of spikes. We see these spikes all the time, and then they usually come back. So really not abnormal. I would love to be a buyer, I guess, down in the 10s, when it comes to beans.
Fantastic. No, that's absolutely right. Especially if somebody wants to trade this stuff longer term.
Yeah.
The longer term chart, we call it the patience chart, right?
Right. But that if you want to get involved in these things and you missed the last run, you want to buy them when they're in these, periods like we were in 4 or 5 years of doing nothing, that's when you buy it, because that's eventually going to break out, and it did. So, the longer you kind of chop wood, and when it comes to any commodity, that's typically how it works. And then I was thinking also, Bob, about our coffee that we talked about in the last couple of weeks. I wanted to bring that up real quick just to see what happened with that, but I think that has actually continued on a bit higher. I think it was trading 215 or so. Yeah. So that's it's double topping or potentially breaking out again here. So I'll be watching this to see if it's going to go to the next move. Otherwise, you might have a good counter trend trade here if it fails up here again today.
Well, I'm seeing, as I could do the Karnak in my head, coffee is going to be either good or bad for COVID going forward, right? That's the next story, because aspirin now, no good for heart attacks, but good for COVID. It's the upside down world, Matt. It's the upside down world.
The upside down. But you are, again, it took some time. We were back here in July. We sold off, and now we've come back to test this. So it's taken 3 months to sell off and come back. I don't know. It could break out, but if it doesn't, if you want to see a weak close again on Friday, if we're above this, it's probably going higher. And don't forget, this thing has been a lot higher. So, let me
ask you this: what's our favorite IPO, Dutch Brothers Coffee, doing?
Yeah, we can look at Dutch Bros. It had a big rally. It actually, I was bidding at 40, and it got down to like 40. Again, don't use even numbers, Matt, but I did. And
nuance.
It just, too much going on. You can't get everything. It got down to about 41. Excuse me. It did not get down to 40, but it got down to 41. Then it ran 20% again, all the way up to 50, but has pulled back here at 48 today. Yeah. It's, again, it's in play. It's only been out there a month. So it's been. And
inside information here, two guys living in Bend, Oregon, where there's, I don't know, how many Dutch brothers are there here?
Probably 10.
They are cash cows. They got the model down better than anybody.
Yep, they do.
2 lanes, drive through, get your sugar, baby.
Friendly young kids working there, boys and girls. They have fun, and it's a sugar fest for the young kids. That's why they love getting their slushies and their smoothies and everything there. So it's I think you can't go wrong selling sugar.
No, you really can't. It's addictive and doesn't count. Again, back to the, why do I not trust? Because sugar doesn't cause heart disease, and we have a study to prove it, right? $40,000 bought the study, and we made fat the culprit, and we lived fat over it for, a half a century.
Right. That's exactly right.
One after the other of why don't you trust the science? Because science changes, first of all.
It's always
because people are no fucking good, and all you got to do is follow the money. That's all we do. Try to follow the money. All right, Matt, what else? Anything else last minute?
Didn't really catch a lot of the, you can talk about your boy, John Cusack. He kind of had his comeuppance.
Oh, you know what? Let's talk about that for a second, because I have a very strong opinion about this.
Okay. Well, and, I have none, and I really don't care. So
I'm going to draw you in, though, because you do have an opinion and you don't even know it.
Okay.
You said to me the other day, I'm like, how the fuck are you a Dodgers fan? You like the fucking Dodgers?
Yeah.
And you said, yeah, when I was growing up, Detroit sucked.
They did.
Right? And so, think about any Cub fan that grew up in the fucking 70s, 60s, 70s, and, early 80s. They sucked. Of course, if the White Sox were.
And then the White Sox were kind of good in the 80s for a few years with Frank.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah.
So, of course.
I have especially here's the argument that I'll give the pro Cusack. It's my National League team and my American League team. It's just like same for me. It's like I have the Dodgers and I have the Tigers. I hope they play in the World Series. Then I'll root for the Tigers probably.
No, I agree. The Barstool guy, not only did Cusack own him in the argument because he knew more about the White Sox than the kid did.
Totally did. Right. That's where it was just like, shut up, you punk kid. Put him in his place. Okay. What do the kids say? Okay, boomer. Yeah. I don't want
anyway. Seeing that, God bless you, John Cusack. Root for whoever. Not only that, what's my bit? What do I care?
Even I remember Mike Squires, and I could care less about the White Sox. I remember that name. That kid wasn't born. That kid wasn't born. He was a twinkle in his dad's eyes.
Let me tell you something too. If you don't remember Harry Carey, like Harry Carey was a Sox announcer before he was a Cubs announcer.
Also
But he
true.
wasn't supposed to take the job because
Yeah.
he was a Sox announcer.
Right.
Come on, shut the fuck up. Send up another Falstaff. Harry Carey. Dick Allen.
Gary!
Holy cow. He got all of that one. It might be. It could be. It is a home run. Dick Allen. Send up another Falstaff. Harry Carey, if they went into extra innings, they had to he was so drunk he could hardly.
I
Anyway.
remember watching the Cubbies in the 80s with my Chicago fraternity brothers and just laughing my ass off because he was so wasted. Absolutely. He was just wasted by the end of the night.
My favorite Harry Carey story is a friend telling a story that when Harry had one of his strokes, they were afraid to call his wife in Arizona because she would have thought that he was drinking. Like he supposedly gone on the wagon and wasn't drinking. Here's a guy stroking out, not drinking, but his friends are like, we can't call her. She'll think he's been drinking. How about you get him to the hospital and they get some meds going. Anyway, Matt, I guess that's all we got. Please join us at marketvitals.io.
So go White Sox, go Dodgers. Let's try to make it best of 5, and we got one more game with both of them. I guess I like you alerted me that I thought all these division championship series is now are 7 all the way out, but you told me they're 5, so I wasn't that worried. Now I'm stressed about the Dodgers that they lost last night. Thanks for ruining my day, Bob.
Don't worry, I'm gonna clean it all up with the crab cakes.
Thanks for ruining my day.
All right, man, we got crabs and. We got crabs, and if you want any other medical information, I'm not willing to share it with you as per my HIPAA rights. Please share the podcast far and wide. Appreciate you listening. We appreciate the feedback. And that's it, Matt. You have a great day.
Thank you, Bobby. You too.